Seems like a crazy scene. Yeah, definitely all in one. Everything seems very close.
So we're gonna let the word free to the media here, and then do one or two quick one-on-ones for the TV.
Yeah,
that's okay.
Very quick. Yeah. Time to get ready for this match. Big match.
Shoot.
This tournament is always the week directly after Wimbledon. So during your career, you never were asked to play here or thought about going here?
I was asked to play here, but it didn't make sense for me personally to, after having been in Europe for an extended period of time, to go from grass to playing on clay. When I was going to go prepare for a hardcourt tournaments, at the Open and playing in the States. So it would make sense for people that prefer clay to hard, or it makes sense for people that are going to stay in Europe, Europeans. And I've heard good things. The players seem to like it, but it never made sense to me, for me.
This is the place where Björn Borg, obviously everything started for him with he made his Davis Cup debut here as a 15-year-old. But another of his Swedish friend, Henrik Lundqvist, is from here. He lived here for 4 years. Have you spoken to him since the Rangers lost the Stanley Cup final?
We texted each other, and we're going to see each other because he's going to be part of my charity event I'm doing next month in New York. So Henrik is a pretty darn good tennis player for a hockey player. And he's also a good guitar player, so we get to play together music, and he's just, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be anywhere near the finals in the Stanley Cup. So everyone in New York, I grew up in New York. I've been a Ranger fan my whole life, but especially when you know someone and you know what they go through and how much it means to him and everyone, he did an amazing job.
Too bad I lost the final.
Yeah, well, that's the part where sports doesn't always, the script doesn't end the way you want it to sometimes. So hopefully they'll make a couple, do a few different things and try to get as many people. They had a great year. It's like losing the Wimbledon final. I mean, the best match I was ever part of was when I played Bjorn in 1980. I lost. So hopefully they can learn this. The next year I was able to win it.
Is Henrik better at tennis or at playing the guitar?
He's pretty good at both. I feel like that's a hard one to call. I was hitting with him tennis, and he moves great. He's a great athlete, and he was at net. And normally when you play other athletes or celebrities, you don't want to hit them or worry about it, so you don't hit it so hard. And then I realized, what am I thinking? This guy gets 100-mile-an-hour pucks going at his head, so I'm okay to hit as hard as I want, and he'll just, get it back no problem, and that's pretty much what he can do.
What do you see when you see world top tennis today? What are your impressions?
I mean, it's sort of it's mind-boggling in a way. I mean, it's incredible to watch what they're doing. I wish that I had. In a way that I had the opportunity to sort of grow up with these opportunities sort of the way it is. I mean, it is tougher to come to net, but I still would have felt like I would have loved to play against these guys at my best with a different game, but like adapted to what's happening and have this type of the technology where it's crazy what you're seeing. But I mean, it's for the most part, I think that the changes that have been made, for the most part, have been good. I still think we should be doing a lot more different things than we do, just to try to keep improving the sport. But it's very difficult to get things to change. Finally, after 50 years, they have an extra week between the French and Wimbledon. Man, that took 50 years. So,
other things that you want to change? Examples?
Well, I mean, to me, they're little things, but whether it is playing a let serve on just to provide something that's unpredictable, playing let serves, not if you throw the ball up to me, that should count as a fault if you catch it. If everyone's whining about this time violation things that Nadal's taking too much time or whatever they're saying, they should have a clock or they should stop complaining about it. In my opinion. And so there's the rackets. I mean, we used to play with wood rackets, obviously, but in the 70s, you saw even then that people were starting to change. And Connors went to a steel frame in the early 70s, and he ended up hitting, even though he wasn't a big guy, he hit the ball harder than almost anyone in the 70s. So you can see how if you had these type of opportunities to tinker with things, even when you're young, who knows? And I mean, having a fifth set breaker, a tiebreaker to me in all the majors would be something that I would do for sure. These guys have played so long already, they put out so much that I think that players deserve to have that sort of light at the end of the tunnel. It was part of a factor to me. I probably would have lost anyway, but if I had played Bjorn, say, in the 80 Wimbledon final, and I knew there was a tiebreaker in the fifth set, I think I would have had a better chance of winning. Maybe he deserves it, he was fitter, or whatever reason you want to come up with. But I think after playing 4 hours at that level and that intensity and the emotions, that players deserve it. Why do they have penalty shootouts in a World Cup when there's 22 people on the field and they play for an hour, 2 hours, and then they're like, oh my God, they're so tired. And they have 3 substitutes, and I mean, yeah, they're running a lot, but so are tennis players. And we can't get substituted. So to me, we have to protect our players.
You had one idea about letting the players call decisions with no referees, with some sort of challenges.
Just to be clear, I didn't say we should have no umpire. So there should be an umpire there in case something happens that's unexpected. I'm not sure what that would be, but something, call the score and be there in case something happened. My suggestion was no linesman, because I believe that would make the game way more exciting. Personally, it would, without question, make the game become more confrontational and interesting, and it would be a bit of an added responsibility to the players that I'm sure they don't want. But people ask me, like you ask me all the time, what can tennis do? And you got to think outside the box and try different things. I also just suggested we should not have a warm-up. I don't see why we have a warm-up when 2 heavyweight boxers go in the ring and they don't go like this for 5 minutes, and touch each other and go, here comes a serve and an overhead left. The first punch that someone throws could put the guy on the ground and knock the guy out. Why in tennis, where they've warmed up and they've hit and they've stretched and they've done things, do they need to do that? I don't think they need to. That's my opinion. I think that would be more interesting if the first ball mattered. But I'm sure none of those things, if any, will happen. So in the meantime, we have to continue to appreciate what we're seeing. I think what we saw Sunday, was one of the greatest tennis matches I'd ever seen. I mean, I feel fortunate to be part of a couple great matches. Obviously, my one with Bjorn was my proudest one, even though I lost. And when I saw Rafael beat Roger, I think it was 2009 or 8 or 9, and this ranks up there as one of the great, most incredible spectacles that I've watched, with all the things that changed, and these guys showed so much character, so much heart, so much fitness, defense. They showed everything. It was amazing.
Have people been writing Roger Federer off too easily?
Well, I mean, listen, Roger Federer has won 17 Grand Slam titles. So, to me, people it's inevitable. It's happening later. I think these guys are, recover quicker. They have better access to better knowledge of what to do to get back. They have people with them. They eat the right things. They do a lot of things better than we did. And they started to ask me, because when you get to be 30-ish, it's that's 30 for someone normal is not necessarily 30 for tennis if you put so much effort. So I thought he was going to win another major. He did, like 2 years ago, and I thought it would be difficult for him to win another one. of course I thought he would be contending and be in a quarters or a semis or a final. Agassi got to the finals of the Open at 35. I mean, Andre's an incredible champion, but Roger's better than Andre. If he's playing his top level, so of course I would think he would make a great run, and he very well made. He looked fantastic. That's the best I've seen him move in years. But to beat these guys, those guys at their A game, and maybe two of them, he had everything fell his way. If you looked at his draw, it worked out about as well as he could have hoped. Until he got to Djokovic, the only way it could have been better is if Djokovic had lost in the semis, or if Djokovic didn't play well in the final. So he was very close, very close. I mean, he almost had him. But I mean, he should have lost that in 4 sets, let's be honest. It's not as if, maybe even 3 sets.
What impact do you think Stefan Edberg has had on Federer's game?
Well, I think if you watch, it seems like he's become more aggressive. I mean, a lot of people have talked about him needing to do that, or should do it, to make sometimes life tricky for his opponent, easier for himself. But it seems like he did more of that this year than I remember for a long time. More serving and volleying, more chipping and charging, more attacking. And I think that helped him. I think that was a part of why he won. Now, I would assume that Stefan had maybe a little tiny bit to, I mean, obviously Roger's the guy out in the court. But even if it's 1% or 2%, that makes a difference between maybe winning or losing, or almost pulling that off, which was a great effort.
One more question.
John, what are your expectations for the Legends doubles later today?
I predict McEnroe Vilander 8-0. I hope that people have fun. That's the main thing. It's not as if we're playing like a major match. If we're going to play, I don't even know what we're playing. 8-game set, that's, I think. But either way, just to go out and the history this has with people that I have a lot of history with. Obviously, my opponents, my Swedish opponents, played a big part of my career. None more so than Bjorn, also Mats, and Stefan and I played some big matches. And so this is great just to be here. This is, I didn't expect ever to be here. So I'm just happy to sort of be out there, and hopefully we can play some decent tennis.
Andreas,
So, gotta ask, because there was a possibility for a reunion between you, Jerry, and the Empire, Leif-Åke Nilsson, Stockholm Open, 84. He said to newspaper Sydsvenskan he didn't want to come here because he didn't want to waste his time on you. What do you think about that?
I'll do my best to sleep tonight.
Okay.
To try to overcome that. I don't know if I'll be able to, though. I'll do my best. That's sobering news.
thank you, John.
Thank you.